morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are streaming live from Gartner Data Center Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. And welcome to our quarterly webinar series. And we're super excited in this one, in the fourth quarter webinar series with Nexenta and our dear partners with me here today from SanDisk, from Supermicro, from Wipro, and from CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Again, we're live, and we have a large audience today from worldwide regions, from US, Americas, from EMEA, and our dear friends in Asia Pacific. So today's story is all about software-defined data centers, software-defined everything, architectures, and innovation via open source, open collaboration, and obviously standardized systems and hardware. And we have perfect examples and representatives from companies who are leading in this sphere. So again, executives from, obviously myself from Nexenta, Tarkan Maynard, the CEO at Nexenta, with our friends from SanDisk, Ravi, Don Clegg from Supermicro, Amit Puri from Wipro, and Rob from CBC are going to give you some high-level suggestions, recommendations, what they're working on. And at the end, we have a set of news, and especially an exclusive promotion for our customers and prospects around the world, bringing all those pieces together. Again, around open systems, around open source-centric collaboration, software-defined innovation for the data center and beyond, and as well as on standardization and commoditization systems from compute to networking to storage, and bringing all these pieces together with trusted advisory of companies like Wipro. So we're going to talk about all those dimensions. But before we get started, let's go to the next slide. Just reinforce the fact that we have an open line ecosystem today with folks asking questions from all over the world using Twitter. So we have a Twitter handle at Nexenta. Please do not hesitate to go to Twitter and post your questions. We're already getting some questions to the folks. We talked about these issues and opportunities in the past. So please feel free as you're joining the call around the world, tweet, or after the call, our executives at the webinar, and beyond that, we're going to be responding to these things live. And we're going to spend a healthy amount of time at the end of this webinar for 15-20 minutes, go through some of these questions coming from you. Again, at Nexenta handle through Twitter, live tweeting. So again, this is Tarkan Maynard, CEO at Nexenta. Nexenta is basically a global leader in software-defined storage with an open source history. But beyond the technology, we truly believe as a company with our partners here at the webinar, like SanDisk, like Wipro, like Supermicro, in true 100% software vision in an open way via open source collaboration, and obviously with true love to the customers. As you know, in data center technologies for the past 4 decades, vendor relationships and customer relationships have not been necessarily always optimized. But first time in our history, with open systems, with flexibility, commoditization and standardization, and software-defined innovation through collaboration with partnerships, first time we feel like the goals, visions, and execution programs of vendors and customers are aligning. So that's why we believe in true love and partnership around 100% software implementations with standard hardware, and at the end of the day, for the best, most optimized cost performance. As we all know, social media, mobility, Internet of Things, creating a big data problem, bigger data than ever before. Data volumes are growing 60-70% year over year. We're thinking and we're listening to Gartner actually live from Vegas at the Data Center Conference. Yesterday we were with Roger Cox, the lead analyst at Gartner, and he was talking about that we're going to reach 60 zettabytes plus by 2020, in the next 5 years, moving from 6 zettabytes today in 2015. However, as the data volumes grow this fast, unfortunately, your budgets as CIOs and technology professionals are not growing at the same rate. I will definitely ask Robert later on and Amit, they're talking to a lot of CIOs themselves.
Are your budgets growing 60% year over year? Probably not. So as the data volumes grow, because of these all big trends around social, mobile, Internet of Things, big data, and now hybrid clouds come in with private, public, and also personal clouds. Now the customers are looking for systems which are open, which are flexible, they are cost effective, but at the same time, software-defined, innovative on standardized hardware systems, standard compute, and obviously in a collaborative way at web scale. Because at the end of the day, there's a reality. Amazon and companies like Amazon are doing a great job with customers delivering a service for their IT needs, but obviously many of our customers believe in hybrid clouds. They're still managing their data centers and want to make sure they get the web scale service themselves internally for their end users and their extended enterprise and their supply chain, which means everybody is trying to find a way in a low-cost way to create these open, flexible, standard systems, obviously with a lot of collaboration and innovation, and on standard hardware to cut the cost, but at the same time go web scale. So that's the reason we believe this OpenSDX methodology, what we say is open source driven, software-defined everything. And bringing all these things together, obviously we need trusted advisors in the field and partners like Wipro bringing all these pieces together from Nexenta, from SanDisk, from Supermicro, and delivering a service end-to-end to their customers while they're also drinking their own champagne because they are the leaders, the PhDs, the gurus deploying these type of systems internally. So Amit is going to talk about this a little bit. So next slide is talking about a little bit Nexenta. I don't want to give you a bunch of techno mumbo jumbo today. You've known Nexenta for a long time, but we look at this not as a product, but more like a platform. An open platform, a software-defined platform for storage. Obviously, data center is a bigger problem, and there are bigger issues, but we believe our customers are spending a huge amount of money on storage. Last year, according to analysts, Gartner included, there was 9 exabytes new storage consumed at $9 billion only in the US. That takes us to about $1,000 per terabyte. When you go to an Apple store and you buy a Western Digital drive for 1 terabyte, there is a deal going on right now for $30. So in our businesses, we're paying almost $970 per terabyte extra premium. Someone is making that money, additional profit, and driving Ferraris around. I'm not against Ferraris. I drive an orange Nexenta logoed Prius, and I'm happy about it because I want to give the rest of that cost that I would spend myself to my customers, to our customers as profit back. So they can do more trust relationships with us as the vendor community, meaning open, standardized, and software-defined end-to-end. So our vision has been always any access protocol, any workload, from Hadoop workloads to active archives, to cold archives, to VDI, to virtualization, around any cloud platform, from VMware to Citrix to Microsoft to OpenStack to KVM to containers. Make it ecosystem ready and making sure there is no lock-in, no hardware lock-in, no data lock-in. This doesn't mean necessarily we don't believe in hardware. We believe in hardware. Like Supermicro is going to talk about later today, standard hardware is hugely important for our customers' success so they can bring the cost down. But we don't want our customers, you, to be locked in. And that was the story of the past 4 decades. For the past 40 years, vendors loved their customers to be locked into their hardware infrastructure, to their appliances. First time in the industry, we're announcing today, later on we're going to talk about this promo, we're delivering the first open source driven, all flash array, all open, regardless of the protocol, regardless of the workload, regardless of the cloud platform you're using, again, from VMware all the way to containers, and making sure it's on any protocol, any compute, any networking, any storage platform and media underneath. So that beauty is obviously reflecting itself in big customer success stories. So next slide is going to show you some of these customer success stories. I don't want to go through every single logo, but want to share one example. We're actually working with GMO Internet Group out of Japan. OpenStack conference just took place in Tokyo, Japan. Big success. I know Ravi was in Tokyo. I know Amit, the Wipro team, Supermicro team. Many of our partners been around this event. And GMO Internet Group was actually publicly talking about how they're changing their data center to give better services with better cost performance metrics to their customers, ranging from consumers all the way to larger enterprises as an internet service, and basically giving them that service, that IT service, in an open, flexible, standard hardware, and a software-defined way. So in their sense, they are a big VMware customer. They do a lot of work with Red Hat. They do a lot of work with Citrix, Microsoft, and others. But at the end of the day, bringing all these pieces together with open systems in a collaborative way with vendors like us. Again, on this webinar, with Nexenta, with SanDisk, with obviously with Wipro, with Supermicro. And at the end of this webinar, you're going to also hear from Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, from Rob, what their vision is along the lines as a user around this open, standard, commoditized, and software-defined new world. So again, streaming live from Gartner Data Center Conference. This is our story. We're sticking to it. And I'm going to move the virtual microphone to my dear friend Ravi from SanDisk for him to add his views from a SanDisk perspective to this overall story. At the end, again, at Nexenta handle, please think about your questions, comments, and we're going to go live with these questions at the end of this webinar after Rob CBC gives their vision into the industry. Ravi, microphone is yours.
Thank you, Tarkan. So a little bit about SanDisk. You know, SanDisk has been around for 27 years, and it was really founded on the very simple premise of flash memory. And for 27 years, we've been working very hard to make flash memory available in a wide range of use cases, whether it's a USB stick, which SanDisk actually invented back in the day, to the world's first SD micro SD card, and then later the world's first SSD. SanDisk actually invented that in 1991. It was a little bit ahead of its time back then, but it's a form factor that's been pretty successful for us. All the way now to our efforts in the data center with enterprise SATA, SAS, and PCIe cards. We really take a lot of pride in ensuring that flash is affordable and it's very high quality, delivers the right kind of performance for our customers. What we knew we could do better, despite the fact that flash is already being used in droves in the data center, is we knew a new way of thinking would really help enable customers to use even more flash to enable a new generation of services and applications never before thought possible in the data center. And you'll have Robert talk a little bit about, and also Amit, I think later on, talk about how that actually happens. But we're very excited to bring new innovative form factors, talking along the lines of what Tarkan mentioned, this notion of disaggregation. How do you take a set of compute, marry it with software, marry it with standard servers, with a set of standard storage components? And how do you do it in a way that is so cost effective that it becomes very compelling to never use hard drives again? And so that's really what we've been working on, and I'm really very happy and excited to be here to talk a little bit about that today. So if we move on to the next slide. The left-hand side really represents the old model, where you have a monolithic array. You can pick a favorite vendor. It doesn't matter whether it's an HDD vendor or an all-flash vendor. It always includes some kind of proprietary software stack, and it's very, very expensive. The reason that it's pretty expensive is because there's a lot of prefixed amount of compute to storage. There's a set of networking that's prefixed. So it really just is about a set of compromises that you have to make, whether it's a hard drive-based array or an all-flash array. And we wanted to remove all those compromises to give you a set of building blocks that you can assemble, and what Tarkan referred to as software-defined innovation. We wanted to bring in best-in-class software stacks, Nexenta on the software side, with best-in-class servers that you can scale as you need from Supermicro, and best-in-class storage, whether that's SSD-based or something like InfiniFlash, which we'll talk about a little bit. And doing these things this way allows you to get a set of economics and get a set of ecosystem and choices, as well as a set of scalability options that you just simply wouldn't get otherwise. And we've been able to assemble all of this at a very, very attractive price. In fact, we think it's groundbreaking, which our friend from Supermicro will talk about the special offer later today. So we're really excited to be bringing these kinds of open, software-defined, disruptive flash array systems. And I'm very excited to be here. I'll be happy to take any questions that you have.
That's awesome, Ravi. Ravi, by the way, going back to pricing, I know some of the vendors here at the Gartner Data Center Conference talking about $3, $4, $5, $7 per gigabyte. I'm sure we're gonna give some groundbreaking pricing data points later today with you, with Don on the Supermicro front too. I didn't want to jump into it, but I know you are the grandfather of cost performance vision. So really appreciate all your support from an Infinite Flash perspective. It has been a huge success with our customers.
Absolutely. And I don't want to steal Don's thunder, so I'm going to let him talk about the special
Super.
pricing at the end.
Super.
Don?
All right, well, it's my pleasure to be here from Supermicro and on this great panel today. Supermicro, we've got the broadest portfolio of servers and storage product lines in the industry, and that's not a statement that we take lightly when we say it. We're an engineering-driven company that its organic DNA roots were by building best-in-class components and evolving into servers and storage. But the real key here for this new architecture that we're talking about, it's not a component cell, it's not a subsystem cell, it's a total solution cell. So if you're an end user, you don't want to get a recipe and choose, I'll take this from this column, this from that column. It's got to be a fully tested, assembled, manufactured, supported system. And that's what we're excited about with this partnership of companies, that this system is completely validated, tested, and supported. So if we go to the next slide, we'll show you an example of what we're talking about. So in this slide, you'll see within the box, it's the Supermicro SRS NSM256 SDIF. I mean, alphabet soup, but that's really important in terms of that is a productized name for the complete system. And I want to stress, complete system with the Nexenta software, with the SanDisk Infinite Flash, with the Supermicro high availability ultra head nodes, putting that together with on-site service and support. Now you take away that there's a little bit of fear factor in any new technology. This gives peace of mind to customers. And so as we look at the architecture of the system, you'll see that on the Supermicro side, we're using our high-end ultra servers, and the ultra stands for ultra performance, ultra flexibility. And you can see with this configuration, as the two head nodes are both connected to the Infinite Flash, there is no single point of failure. And that's managed through the Nexenta Store software. And so the real beauty of this is that with the close partnership of the three companies, we have done a full validation of this. So it's very simple to deploy, easy to manage, great quality of service and support. And then partners like Wipro and others can deliver this system. And there's some real key features to this. This scales. We're showing you an example here with 256 terabytes. That can scale up to 4 petabytes. So this particular part number is tested at 256, but the beauty of working with Supermicro and with Nexenta and with the other partners here and SanDisk is that these are fully tested systems. So as we talk about some of the key features, one of the key features is you don't want to receive a box of parts. So Supermicro has architected, manufactured, assembled, burned in, and tested this, and then when it's delivered through us or through our partners, it has on-site support. So this is not a science project. This is a let's get serious, let's deliver best in class. And oh, by the way, as it's been hinted here, there's some real price breakthroughs. I think we're going to say it at the very end,
Super.
but I will tell you what, when I listened to the same speeches here at Gartner, when they said, oh, you get a $10 band, a $7 band, maybe a sub $5 band. With our partnership, we're not selling it on low price. However, I think Ravi, you had a great statement. What was your no compromise?
No compromise at scale.
Yeah.
Typically, to your point, when you deploy these kinds of systems at scale, let's say you're designing a 256 terabyte cluster or a 1 petabyte cluster for that matter. Typically, you have to compromise and you have to architect and go, how many racks do I need based on HDD? What is my power profile? Do I have the space for it in my data center? How many servers do I connect to it to get maximum performance? You have a number of these things that you have to factor in. With our solution here that Don's been talking about, we feel that we've eliminated all the compromises, particularly around cost. Because by the time you decide what you want and you decide to put flash for all of your 1 petabyte, chances are you're paying through the roof. And that's going to be an untenable solution for you until today. And so, I think this notion of no compromise at scale is really what Supermicro and us have been working together to bring to you.
So you get the no compromise at scale, and then with the on-site support, it is a single point of contact, and we have a partnership for full support of this. So it isn't I'm going to blame it on the next guy or the next guy. And that differentiates this for many of the other solutions that are out there.
Because it's not at the end of the day just the technology and how great we are, it's about outcomes. So speaking of outcomes, who is better positioned to talk about outcomes for our customers than Wipro? So Amit, next slide is obviously, next section is yours. You use always a term which I love. I'm going to repeat it again. We talked about this right before the webinar started. Drinking your own champagne.
Absolutely.
And selling that champagne to your customers for more delight with best outcomes. So Amit, the microphone is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tarkan. You know, for some of you who might not have a view to Wipro, we are a large India heritage system integrator, $2.5 billion of services business on the infrastructure side. We take pride in the fact that we play a center stage role in terms of customers' transformation journey, right? And data center is key to us. 60% of our revenue stream comes from data centers, right? So in that sense, we have had hands-on, a very, very practitioner's view to how we need to help customers transform from their legacy environments to this new age software-defined world which we are wanting them to go. And storage is at the heart of this, right? So from our perspective, the way what we've done, we've created a framework we call as the Open Data Center Framework. This essentially revolves around open source and software-defined infrastructure technologies, and in an end state is a completely open architecture, right? While there is a lot of marketing speak in the market, what we look at credible partners who are truly open, right? In terms of the interfaces they offer, the kind of APIs they open up to the rest of the ecosystem, right? And the kind of disruption on price to performance which they can offer. Now those become some of the guiding criteria for us to take a partner, and Nexenta, SanDisk, and Supermicro are valued partners which we've gone through the whole cycle and got them validated as a part of our whole evaluation process, got them into our labs, validated the solutions, and then we take them to customers. So as we said, you know, on VDI, we deploy internally and manage 15,000 plus users which use Nexenta Store technology, right? And this is the use case which we then further are taking to our customers, right? And there are more, right? With InfiniFlash coming, there are a whole gamut of new possibilities which are emerging, right? In terms of the newer kind of use cases you could do around managing mission critical OLTP applications, Hadoop as a service, and so on and so forth. Next slide. Yeah. So this is what will give you a sense on the Open Data Center Framework. And as Tarkan talked about, it is all about outcomes. So, and for us, it is not just the build part or the change part. It is also the run phase, because a lot of the OpEx costs are sitting down there. So for us, what we've been able to demonstrate to our customers in large outcome-based deals, we've been able to bring in anywhere between a 35% to a 40% TCO saving to a customer, leveraging software-defined storage technologies, and so on and so forth, right? Similarly, elasticity. Customers today are wanting more flexibility and a regime where we were talking about this. People are moving to a notion of zero commits in terms of volumes, right? How does one make that happen together is a large challenge which all of us have, because everybody wants to take a public cloud like model here, right? So that's what one is trying to do, and obviously to increase the whole level of agility. And henceforth, the whole framework starts at a DevOps level, goes on to the cloud and orchestration, covers compute, storage, and network area, all software defined as a completely validated stack, which is validated for interoperability and scalability, right? Let's go on to the next slide. So this is our vision from a storage perspective. Our worldview is storage has to be easy to consume, cost effective, and ready for cloud, right? So from that perspective, we've created this framework and we've created unique use cases which can help a customer adopt open source based, software defined alternatives, and we've created specific use cases with Nexenta, with Supermicro, and SanDisk. Now, that's what is what we take to our market, right? These are all validated, solutions which we have today, and we are actively going out to our customers. Let's move ahead. Yeah. So from a Flash perspective, given what Flash offers in terms of a very, very disruptive price to performance, we are seeing increasing usage in a lot of novel use cases, and how it could be stitched together to create very, very significant outcomes for the customer. And that is what is emerging and panning out as we speak. And very, very interesting scenarios. For example, with Nexenta, one of the use cases we see is video surveillance. And that's something which is coming out in a big way. Video surveillance has huge amount of underlying storage requirements, right? And that's where we are seeing it in action, and we've done it. One of the largest human aggregations, which happens way back in India. It's Nexenta technology which we have deployed to make it happen. And the outcome is not a single person was lost.
Amazing. And this is a big festivity in
Yes,
India.
yes.
Actually, there's a nice culture aspect to it. What is the
Yes.
festivity called, Amit?
It is called as a Kumbh Mela. It's an aggregation of people on a specific day, and they take a bath in a holy river. And the whole point is that the whole outcome to this was such kind of events, 10 million plus people aggregating in a common place on a given time and day.
Live cameras.
Live cameras.
For
right?
security reasons.
For security reasons and for being able to track. And as a net outcome for somebody from an IT perspective who's expected to manage is that all should go absolutely as per the script.
Super. Technology at its best
Yes.
in for security. And
Yes.
obviously, I mean, you made a very important point. With the latest geopolitical trends in our world, some good, obviously some not so good, with cyber terrorism and some of the other things that are happening being discussed here live in Las Vegas at the Gartner Data Center Conference. We were talking about this yesterday in one session.
Yes.
Data becomes more important than ever
Absolutely.
before. Obviously, this is not just a techno talk that a bunch of vendors talking about it. Is the reality of our lives.
Absolutely.
From Chicago to what happened in California to what's going on in Middle East, and in all countries, wherever we are from, doesn't matter.
Correct.
Globally, security becomes a bigger problem and bigger opportunity for vendors to be involved and help with use cases like this. The Kumbh Mela use case is an amazing one. Which river is that? The river. What is the river called, by the way?
This is Narmada.
Narmada River.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there. I want to be part of this because it's an amazing example that Wipro has been working on. Amit, thank you. And by the way, as I mentioned earlier, again, live streaming from Las Vegas with Nexenta, SanDisk, Supermicro, Wipro, talking about the first open source driven, open SDS driven, open data center driven, all flash array ecosystems with Nexenta, with SanDisk Infinite Flash, with Supermicro, and everything is being brought in together in a trusted advisory way with Wipro for better outcomes. So many examples. As a matter of fact, with Wipro, with SanDisk and Supermicro, we were at a car manufacturer just recently, and I believe they're going to go public with the story very shortly in Q1. And they were talking about, as a car manufacturer for their extended enterprise, with their dealerships, with their suppliers, they want to become their own cloud service provider for their extended network. So while it's a true reality with public cloud services, we're seeing now manufacturers, retailers, multiple industries, telcos are becoming their own cloud service for their users internally and for their extended enterprise, the suppliers, their resellers, their network. So this is not just a story for public cloud, it's a hybrid cloud story, and bringing this in a commoditized, standardized, open, flexible, and obviously software-defined, innovative way from compute to storage to network, like Amit talked about, from a Wipro perspective. And obviously, we're focusing today in this webinar mostly on the storage side of things, because we believe storage is still bleeding 60 to 70% of all the cost in the data center. It's very expensive. Historically, data lock-in, hardware lock-in has been the story with the legacy system vendors. And having an open software solution, software-centric solution, bringing all these pieces together, leveraging your current investment, becomes the real differentiator. And who is better to talk about that than Rob Stafford from CBC? So, Robert, you were on a panel yesterday with SanDisk and with other customers. You've done an amazing job, and actually you're our surprise guest today. And you've done such an amazing job in the audience in the Gartner conference with other CIOs. Talk about a little bit about your vision, your company's vision, where you guys taking all of this as a company.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Tarkan. So just thought I'd start with a disclaimer. You know, as much as I'd love to say you go out and buy these products, we don't endorse anything. So we're here to talk about the vision of software defined. And it actually fits in nicely with the theme this year of the Gartner conference, which is all about bimodal IT, which talks about the idea that you still have your very long tail of legacy applications, so think your enterprise ERP, your transactional databases, but you have to support like this new growing generation of what you could think of as the cloud services, things that have to fail quickly, things that should be in small in scale, things like DevOps. So one of the big challenges from a storage point of view is they're completely fundamentally different. You don't build your infrastructure in the same way. So it's a real challenge if you don't have some sort of abstraction layer to your storage, because you're buying and managing completely different sets of products in very different ways. So this is where the concept of software-defined storage does much like what virtualization at the hypervisor level did for your abstracting away your workloads on the compute. So it abstracts away your connectivity to your physical hardware, so that you can have a single pane of glass to manage very different types of workloads, whether it's based on protocol or connectivity, or whether it's based on speed. So you have like your SATA drives and all the way up to your flash arrays. So a very exciting proposition there to try to unite all of your view into the area in a single type of platform.
So you talked about yesterday on the panel, it was very resonant about all these things we talked about. And Robert, we really appreciate that you're on the panel today talking about the direction. And one thing you mentioned is, and which you mentioned again, which is I think very important for the audience for future reference, because we get this all the time. Because the vendor ecosystem in the last 4 decades created all these data islands. And first time you kept using the term, which I love, the data abstraction layer, because what's important for you is the data and business intelligence, so you can have the right outcomes for your company. In this case, obviously a broadcasting company. And by the way, as companies on the panel, we have a lot of work going on with companies like NBC, CBC, we're working with Sony, with many media companies. Because data is so huge, and big data really means a lot to them, because CBC, I'm sure, creating data every passing second. It's never stopping. You adding more volume, more workloads constantly. And you talked about how you guys are bringing these islands together and managing the systems, from legacy systems to newer type of systems, regardless of protocol, regardless of hardware, regardless of the DevOps environment that you're using. And I think that's been a big story to us at the data center conference here live, again from Las Vegas with the Gartner, that customers are looking for these integrated modules so they can build these modules in a modular way, integrated way, but in a Lego format, meaning they can replace pieces. To be genuine on this panel, of course, we're promoting Nexenta, SanDisk, and Supermicro story with Wipro Trust Advisory and examples like CBC. But what we talked about is open, meaning if you don't like any of our components, you can go replace them. If you don't like Nexenta, you can replace with other options. If you don't like Supermicro, you can replace it with other options. If you don't like SanDisk, you can replace with other options. But what we're saying is, bringing these pieces together with the right service and support model and integration to make it work out of the box with the best experience and outcome, and that's been our story. And obviously as vendors, it is up to us, and that's our own responsibility to deliver the best of breed components, not only for today, for the future. Meaning, if Robert at CBC or Wipro internally or Wipro's customers need the best block, file, object support, best workload support from VDI to Hadoop environments, from cold archive to active archives to home directories to file shares, we want to make sure that the lowest cost, highest performance, as Ravi said earlier, at scale, no compromise environments. That's our burden, and that's we're here to make it right. Because in this new world of massive consolidation, all this big M&A activity, customers have options. You have options. We want to make sure we have the best product composition, combined with best service and support, level 1, level 2, level 3, both pre-sales and post-sales. So you have the best outcomes out of that. So having said this, we have a promotion going on, and I'm going to talk about that very quickly, and I would love to have actually maybe input and commentary from my fellow webinar mates here. That's a new word, webmate. Talking about basically some of the things that Rob talked about. You mentioned ERP, Oracle, SAP. You might have other workloads. You have different cloud platforms working with VMware, with OpenStack, containers. So at the end of the day, we are all talking about here the actual outcomes with specific testing environments, and with acceleration, with capacity savings, with
consistent latency metrics and management of that. So we have a lot of testing results. Some of it is on our website. I don't want to go through every single example of it. I will let maybe Ravi or maybe also Don to refer back to different capacity savings, latency savings, and metrics they might like to. Usually at these webinars, we don't want to provide a bunch of slides and documents, but this is more like a attention grabber for you to take time and check it on nexenta.com, SanDisk.com, supermicro.com, Wipro.com. Come to our websites and check out. And our promotion around this beautiful cost performance is the following, which is you need to remember. There's an exclusive promotion live from Gartner, again with Nexenta, SanDisk, and Supermicro. A promo, a complete solution that Supermicro talked about with the Nexenta components, SanDisk Infinite Flash, and Supermicro Compute at raw $1.59 per gigabyte, which is an amazing number, but this is raw. With the right data reduction, data compression metrics, we are bringing actually this number below 50 cents per gigabyte. In a world where different vendors in a monolithic way, like Ravi talked about, and I'm gonna let Ravi to comment on this. I know you live this every day. We are, hearing from vendors $7, $6 per gigabyte, and it's not raw necessarily. It's deduped, it's data reduced. We're talking about at the data reduced levels, taking this to almost 50 cents per gigabyte. We're talking about all flash, and in an open way. As we mentioned, this is an open environment, open source driven software. It's all standard hardware like Supermicro and Infinite Flash coming from SanDisk, delivered obviously in a software defined way with full service and support, level 1, level 2, level 3, one throat to choke, supporting the customer globally, and delivering services around that, like companies like Wipro around the world, giving you end-to-end outcome. It's a big deal. And obviously this is all pre-configured. It's all including high availability capabilities. In most cases, these are extra cost when you get it from vendors. Now it's delivered with 3-year support included, which is an amazing promo. And we're doing this promo to prove a point. Obviously, very openly, since this is a software-defined world, you have the freedom to change the components, to make your own environments as you move forward. But the service and support is an integrated model. It makes a big difference. And obviously, we have a shipment date by March 31st, 2016. So you have about 4 months to start POCs on this. More information is available on nexenta.com, as well as SanDisk and also Supermicro websites, as well as Wipro. But to go get started fast, please email us at allflash@nexenta.com. One simple email. You will get an answer within 30 minutes. And our team is online. Obviously, answer any questions about this promo. Again, this is a promo that we're doing live from Gartner Data Center Conference. We talked about the Gartner analysts, got their feedback as well. We didn't want to do this ourselves just in the dark. We want to make sure that we get some customer feedback, partner feedback, analyst feedback. This is what we heard. People want to have an open system, commodity, and a standardized hardware, software-defined innovation for any workload on any platform with the freedom that you control your own destiny. But most importantly, like Ravi from SanDisk said earlier, at scale with no compromise. What we're talking about is $1.59 per raw gigabyte with data reduction included. Now we're talking about almost 50 cents per gigabyte. This is all flash, ladies and gentlemen. It's the first time in the industry this kind of a price point, and actually proves the point that Roger Cox from Gartner were talking about here. Flash is going to be everywhere. And SanDisk, Supermicro, Nexenta, Wipro services, and as you heard from Rob Stafford from CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, this is a reality. Ravi, do you want to add anything? Because obviously you're the guru on Infinite Flash and you're the Dr. Flash. So do you want to add anything to this maybe I missed?
Yes, first I need to get the PhD. But,
Yeah.
no, I think Tarkan, addressed all the points. As we discussed, this is really so that you can start to think about using Flash everywhere for all of your workloads, as opposed to just the few workloads. I mean, we run across a lot of customers that are running databases. Typically, there's a couple of SSDs involved. So I don't think I have to convince you about the power of Flash and what it can do to transform your application, your workload, the insights you can get from your data. The big point that we had to prove today was that by reducing cost, we can finally not force you to ask the question, can I afford to put flash? But now the question is, can I afford to waste my time with HDDs? And that's really the compromise that we're removing now. And we're hoping that this will allow you to take advantage of this type of flash solution built on an open architecture for all of your workloads. The pricing here is representative of what these companies can do. So come and talk to us, and we'll help you build the right flash solution for your infrastructure.
Don, do you want to add any final thoughts?
Love to jump in. And so, Ravi, as you say, talk to us, because when you have an open architecture, one of the burdens it places on guys like Rob and Amit is you've got to do homework up front, and then you've got to make sure you're covered on the back end as well. So what we have done is we have done that homework for everyone to validate these systems internally. So what we're offering here, it's a complete solution, and that's the key, because again, it's open. You can do and mix and match almost anything, but with this complete solution, you've got a validated, fully optimized platform. And then on the backside of that, it's supported as well, because nothing would be worse than to say, hey, it's a reference architecture, go out and deploy it, and then something goes wrong. So we can tell you that we stand behind it, and we stand in front of it, and we'll totally support you in this. And that's what makes it exciting, because it takes the open architecture world, but it takes away some of the fear and the stumbling blocks that have been there before. And so, again, talk to us.
No compromise, right?
There's no compromise. And talk to us, because this is one example. And I mean, these price points we're talking about, typically when they say, there's raw, that's got service included and upfront testing all included. But talk to us, because there are so many variations we can do of this working with that. That's how Supermicro grew, was by having the most building blocks optimized to create these total solutions. And that's why it's such a natural fit with everything. It just makes sense to have it completely validated by us as partners.
Super. Amit, do you want to add anything, final thoughts before we go to questions from the audience? I think my friends Ilona and Alison are going to help me. There are some questions coming in from Twitter. And you can go to the next slide to show that we have at Nexen the handle for any questions. Please do not hesitate to ask any question. We are super open, as the theme of this webinar consists of, and also very software defined. Amit, any final thoughts about all that we talked about? Because at the end of the day, you guys are the leaders, PhDs, delivering these best outcomes to your customers globally.
Sure. So, Tarkan, a couple of my colleagues talked about how at a cost of acquisition, right, this is looking like a broad-based, option which people can exercise today. Our area of focus also has been to look at the run side of things, right? So some of the specific benefits with like programmability, abstraction, which software-defined technology fundamentally provides. What we've done internally is to ensure that at different levels, specifically say an Accenture technology talking to an SRM layer, or OpenStack, right, or a VMware cloud, or a CMP layer. At all these layers, we've created tested, validated integration, which means it can just go and fit into a brownfield customer scenario.
Absolutely.
Right? Protecting the investments which customers have done already on existing technologies. We are not talking rip and replace here.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So we are seeing two major themes playing out, as my friend was talking about in terms of the bimodal IT. There is an existing core which people want to revitalize, want to ensure by parts and parts, modernize it, revitalize it. That's where we are seeing one theme playing out, and that which is where we are introducing by parts an adoption path for customers to adopt, move away from legacy proprietary based appliances onto software defined storage. Yeah. That's the first theme playing out. Second, which is on the Mode 2 side of things, where this becomes the platform of change, which is essentially an end-to-end software-defined platform which runs the cloud-native applications and stuff like that.
And on that note, again, at Nexen the handle for any questions, please do not hesitate to add to what Amit just said. Maybe next slide would be great to show one more time for those folks join the webinar with the faces of the people of the webinar in the next slide. So very important to, I think, mention, Wipro has been a company as a customer to us, but more importantly, obviously, as a strategic partner,
been also doing our QA and some of our services and support work for Nexenta as a software company. So they keep us honest, meaning in the old world of what I call the mafia networks, vendors control the relationships and get their fees to provide protection for their customers. But in this new world, now customers want honesty and integrity, meaning in order to deliver a joint solution with Nexenta software-defined storage, with SanDisk Infinite Flash, with Supermicro best-of-breed compute network and storage systems, we want to make sure our stuff works in an integrated fashion at Wipro. So if Wipro does not get the value, Wipro is not going to come to a customer and promote something they don't believe in. So I think this is hugely important. It's not only technology and all the techno mumbo jumbo coming together, but all about the outcomes as we talked about earlier. Again, in the past 40 minutes, we tried to explain this big theme live from Las Vegas, Gartner Data Center Conference 2015. Live from Vegas from this amazing event, some amazing sessions. And I'll tell you, even though it's a data center conference, there was a lot of storage talk because those outcomes are needed. Our customers, prospects have that thirst for these promotions we just talked about at $1.59 per gigabyte, complete solution with Nexenta, SanDisk, and obviously with Supermicro, delivered through a variety of service and resellers, partners around the world, but most importantly, companies, global leaders like Wipro, delivering end-to-end service and support and solutions to their customers for multiple workloads. And Rob Stafford from CBC talked about, regardless of the system, regardless of the hardware, regardless of the medium, cloud platform or protocol, making sure leveraging your past investment. Any of these components can be replaceable with other technologies. We are not trying to force-feed everything to one set of system, but we're trying to make it as sexy as possible with the best support, service, and obviously no compromise at scale, like Ravi, you talked about multiple times, which we love. So delivering a solution that we believe it has the best cost performance metrics. And again, more information available on nexenta.com, sandisk.com, supermicro.com, wipro.com, and again, all flash email at nexenta.com. Please do not hesitate, email us about this promo. Any on the website, again, all flash at nexenta.com is an email service you can use about this promotion, which is gonna basically end March 31st, next 4 months. Your holidays gift now with a price point never seen before. So on that note, I'm going to turn to my friend Ilona. Ilona, any questions coming in? I'm assuming you're LinkedIn and you're online.
Yes, and we do have a few questions that came in. First question, today I use a server full of SSDs for my storage hardware with software-defined storage. How is this different?
Very good question, and I'm Ravi, maybe you want to take that on,
Sure,
and maybe I
absolutely.
add it later on, and also Don,
I'll
please.
jump in too.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ravi.
I mean, typically, you always have a different set of architectures that you can pick and choose. So we have nothing against architectures that involve putting SSDs in servers. SanDisk is very proud of the enterprise SATA, SAS, and PCIe cards that we make. So we enable those architectures. We also wanted to provide you a different way of looking at things, a way that you can scale your compute separately, scale your storage separately as your needs grow, which is why we invented InfiniFlash. InfiniFlash is the world's first up to 512 terabytes of flash in 3U. So it doesn't mean you have to populate 512 terabytes at a time. You can start with 64, you can go to 128, you can go to 256, you can go to 512, you can go to a number of numbers in between. So it really allows you to scale your storage as your needs grow. When you have a fixed amount of compute to storage ratio, there are only so many things you can do with it, and unfortunately end up paying a penalty either on the storage, meaning you have more storage than you need because you have too many nodes to get the compute power, or you're over-provisioned on the compute side. And so, to balance these things properly, we created this architecture which is built on a JBOD of flash architecture combined with Supermicro servers and Nexenta software that now gives you the flexibility to expand as your needs expand. So we feel that this architecture allows you to simplify your SKU management at a data center level. So you can actually have an InfiniFlash SKU with 64 terabytes, 128, 256, 512, whatever you need. It's very simple to hot swap the modules, add more storage as you need, and to scale as your data center needs grow. So we don't have anything against SSDs in server kind of architecture. We just wanted to give you more choice and a different way of thinking about how to scale your data center operations.
Don, do you want to add to
Yeah,
Ravi?
there's a real key thing too, and this particular architecture, if we could just peel back some of the, this is at a very high level we're looking at, but if you look at the architecture, it's high availability, and that's a big difference. You can have one component go down, there's no single point of failure, and that's at the compute side, it's at the networking side, and it's at the storage side. So what you see here is very little, if no downtime, with hot swappable expanders and fans and components and the active and failover with the compute, the network. So it really is taking this, just a bunch of SSDs and making it into a high availability total solution.
Very good.
That's very well said.
Very good. Any other questions, Ilona?
Yeah, another question. What does OpenSDS or open mean? Do you mean open source software?
Yeah, so maybe I'll jump in on this, and then I know, Amit, you might want to chime in because you are the PhDs of Open with your Open Data Center vision. As Nexenta, we actually have this vision, we call it OpenSDX, meaning open source driven, software defined everything innovation via open source collaboration, as we are parts of many different open source communities. In addition to our own community, which we have 46,000 contributors, DevOps people, 100,000 transactions a year on nexenta.org.com community, and tying that community to Linux Foundation, obviously many different works that we are undertaking right now with Google, Kubernetes, and Docker and containers. Obviously, many cloud native application foundations are just now coming out as part of the Linux Foundation. Illumos.org, OpenZFS.org, many file system work. Obviously, we believe in open. It doesn't mean necessarily fully open source because customers want control, but they want also service and support. And in that context, Nexenta, obviously SanDisk, Supermicro, and Wipro work with open source technologies, including Nexenta and others as well. But at the end of the day, what we tie to that open story is the software-defined service and support on any reference architecture. In this case, obviously, it's hugely important that we deliver the right permutational reference architecture, pre-configured, pre-priced, pre-packaged with service and support with SanDisk, Infinite Flash, Supermicro, obviously compute platform, and Wipro services around that. So open means to us giving you the freedom so you can swap components if you want to, but give you the components in an integrated way that open enough for you to do your own thing around them, but at the same time get the service and support based on the arrays, reference architectures we deliver. So the good news on this specific promo, it's beyond reference architecture. It's pre-configured, pre-packaged, one throat to choke, Supermicro story with SanDisk and Nexenta built in, and obviously companies like Wipro taking this open story to the next level through the open data center vision. So for those folks who might not have heard that earlier, Amit, your view as Wipro, again, from an open perspective, what does that mean to you? If you can repeat that. I know you talked about it, but I think this question shows that it is an important topic.
So to us, open is all about open architecture and open standards. And essentially, when it plays out as different components or products as a part of an integrated stack, it is all about having open interfaces. And the way we look at it is, irrespective of what people say, there is a huge difference between marketing speak and ground reality, which is where when we get a product into the lab and we test it, we look at what is the degree of openness which the APIs provide, right? Do we have SDKs onto which we can write programs and leverage the power of programmability, right? So we look at those areas to come out whether it is truly open. As you said, is it rip and replace? Can you take a component out without allowing for any amount of vendor lock-in? Does the pricing policy per se, give preferential treatment to vendors' own products, right? The way they price a specific area, right? Or they will work with a specific consortium of partners or alliance ecosystem. So one has to look at the whole picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if you're a closed system, from economic perspective, I mean, you talk about this all the time, which is very important. I know it's a topic maybe we covered earlier. Vendors sometimes play these games and they do maybe below cost to wow a customer, but that cost is going to come out somehow in the future.
Absolutely.
Obviously, open, software-defined, and standardized commodity systems gives an opportunity to do this in a sustainable way.
Absolutely.
Not in a fake way, just to give a discount for one day and then take it away from the customer in the future.
This is the way, when it's open, obviously it's lower cost. Obviously we take the burden to make it sure it works with multiple permutations. There's a reference architecture behind it. And that's the reason in our promo we just talked about, $1.59 per gigabyte raw on this new promo, first open software-defined centric all-flash array with Nexenta, with SanDisk Infinite Flash and Supermicro, delivered by companies like Wipro, end-to-end, $1.59 per gigabyte raw, meaning after data reduction, after dedupe and data compression, we're talking about 50 cents per gigabyte. This is not just a fake number to make our numbers later on through other wicked systems and services around it. We make money on this. Yeah. If we didn't make money on this, we would not deliver such an amazing promo. This promo is only 4 months because we want to make sure that everybody has a POC opportunity. Again, please come to allflash@nexenta.com for any questions. Email available to you. So any other questions? We have maybe a couple more questions we can take in based on the timing.
Yeah, we have one that came in. How does this compare from an ROI perspective with EMC, Dell, HDS, NetApp's offerings? Guessing you're better, but your chance to say.
Okay, let me give you a high level, and I would love to get maybe help a little bit also from Ravi and Don, without referring to any specific vendor. Based on our experience, and Rob, you more than as a customer at CBC, you see these numbers. What we're seeing from legacy systems also, we heard it at the Gartner conference as we were live in Vegas at the Gartner Data Center Conference in 2015. We're hearing numbers $3, $4, $5, $7 per gigabyte, and which does not even include, in certain cases, service and support. So this is a really low cost, but no compromise, web scale, at scale promo from a numbers perspective. I don't believe anybody can beat this. Yes, you can beat it, and you can give products for free and fake it, but you will not make, obviously, a sustainable business. We want to make sure everybody wins. Vendors win, customer win. This way is a sustainable system. Maybe, Rob, I'll start with you and come back to Ravi because you're raising your hand.
So I think this actually relates back to the previous question about open systems.
Right.
Because once you have an open system, you're free to choose your components. So if it's the software layer, you can replace it. If it's a piece of the hardware layer, you can replace it. So one of the advantages with open systems is that you can drive costs down by replacing the expensive components with less expensive ones. So there's a huge advantage for open standards on a price point of view just in general. It would be very hard for a closed system to ever be less expensive than a open system.
Very good.
I would add to that. I think today, we've talked a lot about total cost of acquisition, right? I mean, Don talked about the special pricing, 50 cents per gigabyte after data reduction, $1.59 before data reduction, with all obviously 3-year service and support. That's TCA. But one of the beauties of this architecture, this way of software defines, from Nexenta, Supermicro servers to scale as much as you want, with SanDisk Infinity Flash, which is a highly dense enclosure, is you actually save on TCO as well. I mean, compare your existing current array. Again, we don't have anything against other vendors. We love storage. We love everybody that contributes to the world of storage. But pick your favorite hard drive array, call it a petabyte of storage. We run across a lot of customers that still have 6 racks of old gear that actually is a total of 1 to 2 petabytes of storage. With the Supermicro, SanDisk, Nexenta solution, you can actually compress that down to about 8 U. Right? You can actually have 1 petabyte of storage and 6 U of SanDisk Infinity Flash with a bunch of Supermicro servers fronting this stuff. So now you've compressed 6 racks of storage to just 8 U. I mean, that's the kind of stuff where not only do you have the TCA benefits that we've talked about, acquisition cost benefits, you also have OpEx benefits of managing a much smaller footprint, less servers, which means less licenses for software that runs on those servers. So there's a lot of benefits that you get not only on a TCA standpoint, but TCO standpoint. You put these numbers together, the savings add up to a significant amount of cost reduction.
Don, do you want to add to it?
Sure, and maybe you can add to the openness of it, and I think Rob alluded to it yesterday, is so as a bad pun, but you might have some open racks that are there because you don't need them anymore that might have had HDDs in them before. So there is a great TCO saving story in terms of the number of, just from a footprint point of view, and then from a reliability point of view. But in answering the question about the other companies, one of the things that makes this partnership so great is our time to savings, time to money, time to market. I think we're much more agile than any of the competition and able to produce these solutions so that our customers can get them and take advantage of them ahead of their competitors. So one of the key things in the Gartner conference I saw was a live poll, and it said how many customers with all-flash arrays are considering changing their vendor in the next 1 to 3 years. It was a 50% number. I mean, that's amazing. So it just says there is opportunities for the best solution, and we truly believe that with Supermicro, SanDisk, with Nexenta, working with Wipro, and great customers like CBC, although you're not promoting us, I understand, but a great example of that. I mean, it really is an opportunity to be much more agile with a much better solution than the competition.
Go ahead.
I want to expand a little bit on what Don just said. I mean, part of what it takes to create a great recipe, I'm a big fan of cooking, I love cooking, and those of you that do as well know that a great recipe and great food starts with great ingredients, right? And that's really what you're getting with this notion of open, and software defined. You have a company like Nexenta whose software is now battle tested. You saw all the customers that have already deployed Nexenta. They're best in class in terms of what they do. Supermicro, one of the world's best server companies. The world's, absolutely. The universe, not just this world. You can go to Pluto and still not find a better company than Supermicro.
Thank you.
Make the best servers possible. So you have another ingredient which is world-class and best in class. And then SanDisk, we have a fab. Together with our joint venture with Toshiba, we actually produce slightly less than 50% of the world's flash output. This is all we do. We day in and day out, flash is the one thing that we do, we love, and we focus on. We want to make it better and better. So you really combine all these best-in-class ingredients. It goes to the notion of, again, not compromising because you're getting best-in-class ingredients from best-in-class vendors. And that put together, is going to help you create a sustainable business model that you can expect these kinds of prices and more and better solutions from us. And so that's the notion of mixing these best-in-class ingredients so there is no compromise. Whereas with the traditional array vendors and some of these new age guys that have come up, ask yourself the question: how can you be an all-flash array vendor when you don't own the flash underneath? And that's really the kind of difference in thinking we're bringing to the table.
So yesterday, when we were talking to Roger and the Gartner team, and this may be the last comment. I know there are a lot of other questions, Ilona. Thank you so much for your help, by the way. One topic came up at our table as we're having this beautiful meal. Ravi didn't cook this time, next time. Was, hey, this is beyond software-defined. It's actually, to me, it's a workload-defined architecture, application-defined architecture, and I know, Amit, you talked about this. As Ravi said and Don mentioned, with these best-in-class components, whether that's a software-defined storage management, with the best flash ingredient, with the SanDisk Infinite Flash and the computer architecture from Supermicro. Again, all swappable. We're open, we're genuine about this. You can swap these components with other players as well. That's the beauty of our story. But we're giving the best ingredients integrated with the best service and support, like Wipro talked about. And key pieces, going back to application definition, not only software-defined, but application-defined, with capabilities across multiple protocols, from block interfaces, iSCSI, Fiber Channel, to NFS, to CIFS, to Swift, to S3 capabilities. Now, we can manage multiple workloads. As Amit talked about earlier, for those folks who missed maybe part of the webinar today, from VDI environments to virtual server environments to Google Kubernetes environments to Docker environment to OpenStack deployments, like we gave an example with GMO Internet Group and Yahoo earlier, and also other workloads around home directories, cold archives, active archives, whatever the workload is, we have a versatile solution set here. Again, pre-configured, pre-priced, across any protocol, from object to block to file, and that is work. That's a lot of work. And tying this to live, end-to-end, level 1, level 2, level 3 support, pre-sales support, and post-sales integration and support, it's a big deal. A customer came up to me yesterday and said, look, we don't want an extra management system. We already buy SolarWinds. We buy IBM or HP, or we use CA Unicenter or BMC or New Relic, whatever the system architecture is. Look, our systems are all based on REST APIs, open API infrastructure to integrate to the management framework you choose. Again, it's all about openness, not only at the disk flash layer, the system layer, but also at the application layer. That's why I like that topic. One of our table mates at the dinner mentioned application definedness is the future for us, beyond just software definedness, and we're making it application defined for you with all these amazing vendors. Again, thank you for being part of it from Las Vegas Data Center Conference from Gartner, live from Vegas 2015, December. And again, I'm going to thank Ravi at SanDisk, Don at Supermicro, Amit at Wipro, and Rob Stafford at CBC, live from Vegas. And thank you for joining us. This video is also going to be available on our websites. You can download it, you can stream it live after this event. Again, thank you, all of you around the world. Again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And we'll see you in our next conference, in our next webinar in January timeframe, around the similar topics. Again, around open, standardized, and software-defined world, and how we're tackling that as vendors and customers here, live from Vegas at Gartner Data Center Conference. Thank you.